local job economy. And of course, when it comes to the environment, the question is what to do with the spent fuel rods that will be there for the next 1,000 years, not really, but quite some time. And is there a way to utilize that in order to maybe perhaps fund or tax it and draw on some revenue that can go to help or again blunt the impact. And with respect to jobs, I think that one of my goals would be to work closely with local labor. They have phenomenal internship programs, apprenticeship programs. Not everybody is who's coming out of school is going to college or is going into the military, and we want to be able to make sure that they have an opportunity to work. Thank you.
Stay standing.
Stay standing.
Yeah. So what are your plans to make your district more of a green district?
More of a green district. Okay. So I think that you know, continuing to work with the county with respect to the waterfront here in Peekskill, as well as Buchanan and Cortland, there's work that could be done there. The county is you know, currently working on, I think, a number of measures with respect to banning of single-use plastics, with respect to the straws, and with respect to just, you know, cleanup of some of the local water area, some of the local ponds and watersheds. So I think that those are some good areas to start. I also think that you know, working to provide more eco-friendly vehicles, electric vehicles, more electric charging stations where we can, where available or where appropriate, and you know, things of that nature.
Thank you. Mr. Catalina.
Yeah. I daydream a lot.
Oh, same question about making the district more green.
Okay. I think with all the incentives on the federal and state level, people are coming up with new ideas every day. Banning plastic straws is, you know, sounds like a little trivial thing, but it's actually a great idea. Plastics, remember the movie The Graduate? The guy said, well, I have one advice to you. Plastics, and you know, that's the way this society went. I think any proposal that's reasonable in cost to the people and to developers and to industry in general should be looked at. The county legislature is pro-green. I think everybody is pro-green. I don't think it's a Democrat or a Republican issue. And anything that we can do, more charging stations would be great. And I go to court just about every day in White Plains. I don't see any electric charging stations, but I do see them in private industry. Some of the hotels in the area, some of the shopping centers are starting to pop up electric charging stations. I think government can do a lot more, especially county government.
Thank you. You can stay standing. So the next question is, what is your vision for the community?
For the county?
For the county and for Peekskill.
Well, as a legislator for District 1, my priority is District 1. Anything that's good for District 1 will be my priority, and I fight for it. Secondly, if it's good for my district, then is it good for Westchester County? And I will fight for it. I listed the environmental injustice that Peekskill and this district sustains as a result of all of those things that I won't list them again. So those are, I think, need to be balanced out. And addressed. I think there's more that we can do on the AIM pipeline, even though it's been basically approved and constructed. I think, well, we have to really fight for our rights on Indian Point. Those people, like the governor, who screamed and yelled to have it shut down, should have a contingency plan to save Buchanan, who's losing 50% of their funding, and the Henrik Hudson School District, which is losing about 40% of their funding. Peekskill is not directly impacted tax-wise, but those communities are going to be devastated and they need help. So those are the immediate things. Route 6 is a disaster area. It needs a lot of work. I know it's a state road, but every time I see Senator Harkin, hey, if I can do anything for you, let me know. Well, every time I see him, I'm going to tell him we need help on Route 6. It takes an hour to get from Buchanan to Jefferson Valley, and it shouldn't. So those are some of the things that would be priorities for me.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Okay. Vision.
Vision for the community.
Okay. Yes, I'll pick up where my colleague left off. I think that infrastructure is always an important issue. That one of my goals would be to try and secure more resources, more county funding to help with the infrastructure in this area, and that means partnering with the state and other officials to make that happen. Then I think that's the direction we have to move in. I also think that particularly in Peekskill, but across this district, and in light of the closure of Indian Point, affordability is a huge issue that we're facing, and people need affordable solutions to live, to stay here. People who want to move into this area, young families with children. We've done a pretty good job in Peekskill at increasing the affordable housing here. Some of the outlying communities could use some more, and so one of my priorities would be to work and partner with the local communities to fight for more affordable solutions, particularly for our seniors, allowing them to age in place.
Thank you. You can stay standing, of course. So, Mr. Smith, how would you determine budget priorities?
Well, budget priorities, I think, when you're talking about the county budget, I mean, the first and foremost, we're talking about making sure that our necessary agencies receive their proper funding, whether it's social services, public safety, the district attorney's office, and staffing, which is always the largest ticket on any budget. So I think that we have to start with what are the most important areas in which the county needs to function in order to properly service its constituents. With respect to taxes and tax increases, of course, my goal and my practice has been to always support a budget that stays within the now state mandated state law tax cap, because we live in a county which is one of the highest taxed counties in the country, and while our taxes are going up, the means to support oneself and stay within that that tax frame is not necessarily increasing at the same time, and so my priority would always be to make sure that we have measured tax growth by at the same time trying to maintain the same level of county services that are necessary for us to continue.
Thank you. Mr. Catalina, how would you determine budget priorities?
Being a member of the legislature, I think we're going to be guided by the majority. When an executive, the county executive, and his staff proposes a budget, they set their priorities, and it's up to the legislature to chip away or add or subtract to different areas. Rob Astorino was the county executive for several years. He had no tax increase, but he cut substantially services to people that needed those services most, whether it be daycare, expansion of the Beeline bus system. So when those services are cut or not expanded to meet real people's needs, then in my opinion, government is not serving the true, the intended people that it should serve, the people. And I'm a lawyer. When I represent somebody with a DWI, in order for them to get a hardship license, they have to show that they have no other way to get to work. So I had somebody from Peekskill, and they had to show that there was no train and there was no bus that they could use. And the client said, well, there is a bus I can use. I'd have to take the Peekskill bus to this and the Ossining and that, and it took 3 hours to get to White Plains. So I was stuck before a judge not to lie and say there's no bus schedule. There is a bus schedule, Judge. It's just ridiculous. And so that's the kind of thing I think Northern Westchester gets shortchanged all the time when it comes to county services and county budgets. So those types of things in the budget, not to make an extra job for some politician's nephew over in Playland, or put another no-show job where somebody else is.
Thank you.
Those are the services that people rely upon.
So you can stay standing or do the quads workout here. Are you satisfied with the current business and economic climate, specifically of Peekskill, or do you feel that more needs to be done?
No, when I was mayor, about $2 million worth of new construction took place in the 6 years prior to my taking office. In the 4 years that I was in office, we had $500 million of economic activity. We have 524 new residential units today than we had before I was mayor. We have 24 new commercial establishments either operating or under construction as a result of what passed during my administration. With that being said, you know, the construction jobs are going crazy. There's more there's more companies advertising for work than there are people applying. I think the economic climate for business is very good right now. There's always more we can do, but we're doing pretty good.
And I think that, you know, the economic climate for business and development in Peekskill right now is very good. I think there's always more that we can do. You know, since I've been on the council, I've been happy to support several projects that have come into the area that are going to provide more affordable solutions for people to live. I think that over just, you know, the last couple of decades, we've all seen an increase in the business and the economic activity here in Peekskill, as well as a revitalization of the downtown area. And speaking of revitalization, Peekskill was just awarded the $10 million Downtown Revitalization Initiative, which is geared to increase economic activity in the targeted communities. And so I think that's just going to give a nice injection, a nice boost to, you know, to further those activities. So I think that the climate is good and the outlook is great.
Stay standing.
That's right, stay standing.
Okay, yes. So, you know, the term bipartisan is something that comes up frequently and is seen as very important. Can you please give examples of bipartisan collaborations that you've been involved with?
So I think that since I've been on the council, it's been an entirely Democratic council, so there's not really been any opportunity in that regard for bipartisanship in the strict sense of the word. However,